This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Don't forget to view our spoiler-free companion video on our Half Past Podcast channel on YouTube. Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is episode 20, the movie review of Crimson Peak. We will also be discussing the Spectre trailer. I'm Graham Ricks, and here with me is my friend and co-pilot, Ian Jones.
Hey buddy, how you doing there?
I'm doing all right. Just watched Crimson Peak last night.
All right. Did you did you get that ridiculous Tim Daly PSA for pneumococcal pneumonia in your movie theater?
You know, I got that one during the last one for The Martian, and I remember when I saw it, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've seen Tim Daly since Wings.
Oh, I know, right? I didn't even know he was still alive.
I couldn't believe, there's something about those commercials. I can't imagine somebody walking up
to a total
Tim
stranger.
Daly.
I know.
And that's all. Oh, hey, Tim Daly.
And
they just see him all the time.
Yeah, and recognizing him too.
Yeah. You know? And I love how Tim Daly's response is something about the pneumococcal pneumonia or whatever.
Yeah, it's on his mind.
Yeah,
this is
right?
a perfectly normal icebreaker for people of a certain age.
I cannot believe I can't remember the last time I've seen like a medical ad in a movie theater. Yeah, this has to be the first one.
It's a PSA, and it's playing in front of everything, even for little kid movies. This thing is airing right before it comes on. We're gonna put the link up for pneumococcal pneumonia because it is so cringeworthy.
Yeah.
But it's like an impossible conversation to have with a total stranger. Like, there's just no way that conversation happens.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Freaking Tim Daly. It's nice to see that he's still alive, I guess.
You can hear everyone in the movie theater grinding their teeth when this thing comes on. Even if they've seen it for the first time. Like, really, this is... Oh, Tim Daly. Wait a minute. What? What do you mean, oh, Tim Daly? My mom had pneumococcal pneumonia. Okay, how do we get to that? And then he's like, you're getting older, remember? I don't want to spoil it. If you haven't seen it, we'll put the link up. I feel like I'm spoiling it.
No, it's okay. We'll put the link up.
Oh, it's awful. Someone deserves to be fired for writing that.
It's so bad. All right, Joe, let's get into this Spectre trailer.
All right.
I actually didn't know about Spectre until like a couple months ago. It almost seems like they've been keeping it pretty good under wraps. And so it was nice to see the trailer because I really, really enjoyed Skyfall. And this one to me looks like it's going to be the first full-on Bond movie with Daniel Craig.
Well, which is kind of funny because I'm pretty sure it's his last.
Yeah, right? They've been saying that he's like done with it. It's kind of weird because all the other ones were just a build-up to him being Bond that we know. And in Skyfall, he pretty much just... He gets reinvented as Bond by the end of the movie. Like, all the pieces are set, you know, Moneypenny's there. And
right.
And so it was really awesome the way that movie ended. So I was excited about the next one. And I was hoping he'd do like a couple more. But it seems like he's kind of done.
Yeah, I think he's already started to feel it, to age out of it. And it's really a shame, too, because we probably would have had another Bond movie had it not been for the issues with MGM and then the writer's strike.
Yeah.
I mean, both of those things happen, and it screwed us out of maybe getting another Bond movie. But, you know, then you start to wonder, well, you know, maybe they can get someone much younger, who we can have for a new generation.
A little while, yeah. It looks like this movie is full of action, man. There's like helicopters and everything, and buildings falling down. It's crazy how much is going on in this movie. So, if it is his last one, it looks like it will be a good last hurrah type movie. The only problem I have with this movie, and it might have nothing to do with the same type of organization, but because we've seen Mission Impossible 5, having another mysterious organization in a spy movie just kind of bothers me a little bit. That's the first thing I thought of when they were like, it's called Spectre, the group. And I was just kind of like, oh man, Mission Impossible 5. So we'll see what happens with it.
Well, they've already done, they're kind of rehashing some similar things that have already happened in the James Bond movies. So
yeah.
Spectre and this character have already been done now. I'm interested to see what, if there are any differences.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of waiting for. You got anything else on this trailer, Jones?
No, other than I thought Skyfall was just outstanding.
Yeah, it was.
And really, that was the return of having a very good Bond villain.
Yeah.
Which these movies have been lacking. So, other than that, I'm interested to see where they go with it, and if this is the last one with Daniel Craig.
All right, cool. Then let's go ahead and get into the movie review. After a family tragedy, an author gets tempted by a mysterious stranger. Trying to get away from her previous life, she is swept away to a house that seems to remember. This movie is directed by Guillermo del Toro, who also did Hellboy, Pacific Rim, and one of the first movies I ever saw him do was actually before I even knew who he was, which was Mimic. And he's actually working with the same cinematographer in this movie than he did with Mimic.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro is definitely my favorite director, and that's saying something because there's definitely a few that I like.
Yeah.
But I really love his stuff. He is incredibly creepy, and there's always going to be some sort of autopsy scene.
Yes.
He cannot get away from it. It's in everything.
Every single movie he does, there's some autopsy scene. And he's also been a creative consultant for a lot of movies because he's so talented. And everything he does is incredibly gorgeous. And this one doesn't change that fact at all, either. This movie's starring Mia Wasikowska as Edith Cushing. She's been in short films, of course, that Alice in Wonderland movie, and The Kids Are All Right. Jessica Chastain as Lucille Sharp. She was in Lawless, Mama, and The Martian, of course.
So I made a comment about Jessica Chastain.
Yes, I wanted to ask you a question about that, actually.
Okay.
You have this thing about redhead actors and how boring they are.
Yeah.
And she is creepy as shit in this movie.
Absolutely. But that doesn't... Does that really change anything? Because South Park sort of addressed that anyway. Redheads are really creepy. I feel like everything she does just like furthers those stereotypes. She is wonderfully creepy in this, but in The Martian, she was the most boring person ever.
Yeah,
who listened to disco music and I feel like those are two totally different things.
Like I want to make sure that we brought up your opinion from the last one because you were just like you kind of laid into her a little bit in the last podcast.
Yeah, well, there's definitely nothing boring about her in this because she's full on creepy.
Yeah, she is. Tom Hiddleston as Thomas Sharp. He was in Thor because he's Loki, Warhorse, and Muppets Most Wanted.
I wonder if we've seen him for Loki for the last time or one more time and that's it.
I don't know, maybe. Charlie Hunnam as Dr. Alan McMichael. He was in Sons of Anarchy, of course. Nicholas Nickleby in Pacific Rim. So it seems like Guillermo del Toro likes working with him because he's decided to do another movie with him back to back. So
yeah, you know, he has the hardest time doing an American accent.
Yes.
I really think they should just let him do whatever. Wherever he's from, they should just let him do that because he struggles. He'll have one sentence where he's fine and then another one where it's like, wow, this is like listening to Liam Neeson. and I enjoy Liam Neeson. I just don't think they should bother with having him pretend like he's an American. I mean, what difference does it make? He's Liam Neeson. Just don't get on a plane if he's getting on a plane. Obviously, something's going to go down.
I remember when you were telling me, if you see Liam Neeson on an airplane, you're going to immediately get off. You're just like, nope.
If he gets on a train or an airplane, you know, or goes into a public place where you wouldn't expect to see him, you got to get off because obviously something's going to go down.
Well, yeah.
He'll survive, but you might just get shot. And, you could be used as a human shield in the process. And I'm a wide target, so.
Oh, man. Jim Beaver as Carter Cushing. He's been in a ton of TV roles. And, of course, he's Bobby in Supernatural.
Yep, in Supernatural.
And he's also been in a bunch of short films, too. Vern Gorman as Holly. He was in Game of Thrones, The Dark Knight Rises, and Pacific Rim.
Awesome name.
Yeah, and he is one of those actors that just, it's like it's impossible for him to have a leading role because he looks so sniveling.
Yeah. Just like that other guy we were talking about.
Yeah, it's just Thrones. You can't be the leading man when you look like that.
No,
it's not that he's like looks terrible. It's just he has that like villain face that we all are just used to seeing.
You can't trust him.
Leslie Hope as Mrs. McMichael. She's another TV actor. She was also in Men at Work and Never Back Down. Doug Jones is Edith's mother, who played Lady Sharp. This guy is like a contortionist and has been working with Guillermo del Toro in a ton of different movies. He's also been in Hocus Pocus, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and of course the Hellboy movies.
Doug Jones is absolutely incredible, and he is one of Guillermo del Toro's favorite actors, and he just delivers these incredible, like you were saying, he's a contortionist, but he's he's really expressive with his body. Yeah. And he's just amazing. He was in Pan's Labyrinth.
Very talented guy.
Played Abe in Hellboy.
I went ahead and trimmed the fat on this one, Joe, so that's all our characters for
That's fine with me.
So let's go ahead and get into our quirks and likes. All right, Jones, quirks and likes. Let's go ahead and get into him. One of the first things that I needed to say about this movie is the love connection at the beginning of the movie, at least towards the beginning of the movie, just didn't seem like, I don't understand why she would want to run away with this guy. They did a waltz and then pretty much got married.
Yeah, that's all it took back then, though. That is all it took. Like if you walked a girl home on consecutive nights because it was dark out, then you could go and ask for her hand in marriage. That's really all it took. They didn't need eHarmony and friends setting you up in bars and stuff like that. They just didn't need it.
I just thought I'd bring it up because the same kind of thing happened in Pacific Rim, where it was just like they did that fight sequence when they were trying to figure out who they should be paired with, and they fight each other, and there's like, did you feel it too? And I'm like, well, that wasn't really conveyed at all. It just seemed like a fight scene, so it was weird that it just kind of snapped. And it's like the same thing happened in this one. And I thought that just freaked me out. I got a question for you, Jones.
All right.
Oh man! So how long? And how much money would it take to stay one night in that creepy freaking
Forget it.
house?
No way. Absolutely not. I was wondering. I can't believe that wasn't even your first thing that you said, because number one on my list is bleeding floors and bleeding walls. I wouldn't have stepped 2 feet in there.
Guillermo del Toro created one of the creepiest freaking houses in film history.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. There's blood coming out of the floors.
I've seen quite a few horror movies, and one of the creepiest little houses is probably the house on Haunted Hill. And that one does not even close to how creepy this house is. Yeah. And that house was trying to kill them. So I don't even know what to tell you. It was amazing. It's the creepiest freaking house. Walls bleeding, and like it made all these sounds, and like they said they grew up there as kids, and he's just like, oh well, that's just the east wind. Well, it sounds like somebody is dying. Right. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, I can't believe it.
Was there this giant hole in the roof when you grew up in there as kids? Jeez.
Giant holes in the roof, and then they have all those like black moths all over the place in the attic and stuff. It's like,
I know. Geez. Dead insects everywhere.
It's terrible. And the other thing, I got another question, and that's how long did it take you till you knew incest was involved?
Almost right away. For me,
it was the scene where they first start talking, and she has that ring, which is at like the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I think there's some incest going on here, and then it got confirmed when she gives her that book, because that was a test. And I'm like, oh, she's way too protective over him. And that was what I was like, I know that this is what's going on right now.
They absolutely have a Quicksilver Scarlet Witch thing going on.
It's creepy. It just makes the movie even more creepy.
Yep.
And the movie's already pretty creepy. One of the other complaints I have about this movie is that it's actually a pretty slow burn.
It is, yeah.
I think the only plus side to that is I think at the end of the movie, I think the payoff is a little more worth it. I remember telling you about Sicario, where that movie was a really slow burn, and the climax is just kind of But this one, I think the payoff is a little bit better, but it is really slow. The other thing I have to say is that I thought that I wasn't expecting it to be such a love story. I mean, it is a love story. and I just wasn't expecting that at all in this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna, I'll kind of jump in here just because this is what Guillermo del Toro would think of being as a love story, where
yes,
I mean, everything's really creepy, and yet this is, there's a love triangle, and there's just all these little things going on, and the whole environment is just so, like, it almost gets on you, like that's how gross everything is, and yet there's something oddly comforting. She isn't just running out of there. There is one scene where she finally does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I wouldn't have lasted one day there.
No way.
I would have just turned and left. I was what did it take 3 months to get here by boat? Time to go back to New York.
Oh, man. The last thing I have to say that I have as my quirk is, why does Edith's mother have to be so damn creepy? Like, she's actually helping her through the whole movie. Like, warning her about Crimson Peak. Why does she have to be so damn creepy? It's not a friendly looking ghost at all.
It isn't. And
it's like, I don't know about that.
Well, all the ghosts are trying to help her, which there comes a point where you realize you kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that isn't the thing that is the real problem.
No.
Weirdly enough, the blood-like ooze coming out of everywhere, and the fact that there are ghosts covered in it that are trying to chase her, get her out of the house, are the least of her problems.
Yeah, right? Really, all the creepy stuff around there is all positive, which is brilliant in this movie. I think that's a huge plus to this movie that makes it... I mean, horror movies have this problem anyway, where just that kind of stuff happens and it's always the bad things. And this one kind of flips it over a little bit. And I think that's what makes this one of the better horror movies that I've seen. That's all my quirks, man. What do you got?
Well, you touched on two of them. I would have called a roofer and a priest right away. You know, he's destroying his house by mining on his land.
Yep.
And I'm just not sure there's any amount of money that could save that place.
Oh, no, man.
You know, how much money could she have?
That place needs to be burned to the ground.
Oh, no kidding. And no one does either. No one burns. That damn house is still
There's a scene at the end of the movie where the flames are like up, and I was hoping that it would just set the house on fire, but they go back down, and then you get the friendly, creepy ghost thing, and that's what ends up happening.
Playing at the piano.
Amazing.
Where she's the happiest.
Yep.
You know, the other thing is, who would buy bricks that look like that?
Oh, that bright, like, blood red. Oh,
man, yeah. Who wouldn't want to live in a house made of blood red, oozing bricks? like, what if they had said, okay, yeah, we'll give you the money. You know, but you got this worthless product. No one wants to live in a house that looks like that. There's clearly something wrong with your soil. It is gushing blood.
Oh, man.
The other thing, which, you know, so you touched on a couple of things, but everyone is wearing so much clothing at all times. Yeah. Like, and I get that it's sort of that period, but there isn't even a time when people are just in knock-around clothes. Even they're sleeping in, like, full-on, ridiculous, layered gowns. And I get that the house is hot and everything, but even when they're still in New York, I don't get how there wouldn't be, like, a t-shirt or something. Like, and I get that there weren't t-shirts. You know, they didn't have Hanes, but, like, she was already ready to go to the dance or ball or whatever that was.
Right, yeah.
You know, and yet she changed and still got there in time.
Yes.
They were late getting to the ball, and then there's no way she got dressed that quickly. Let's be fair, right? So that meant that they were waiting hours for this guy to get there. Yep. And then he just besmirches the host, which apparently is a huge insult. I did not know if you asked someone else to dance, that was like such a gasping, like, slap to everyone's face. Like, it's like, ooh, I'm going to dance with Cinderella instead. And it's like, bam, you just punched everyone in the crotch. Collectively. What do you mean he's going to ask Cinderella? And she's rich, too, which is weird that she's the outcast.
Yeah, right?
I think that's it for me as far as quirks go.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get to the likes. I got a few here.
Alrighty.
The first thing, of course, is this movie is Guillermo del Toro beautiful. It is beautifully terrifying. And I every single one of his movies that he does has a look about it that just sets him apart from everybody else. And I would say that this is definitely one of his best ones when it comes to the visuals. Everything just looks gorgeous. His use of detail in the house and the use of color and light is just fantastic. I love everything he does, and this one isn't an exception at all. Chastain. I really enjoyed her performance in this movie. She is creepy and pretty much just maniacal at the end of the movie. And even during most of the scenes, she has this quiet storm about her throughout, so you're not quite sure what's up with her. And then there's only just occasional times where she just kind of loses it. And I think her performance is really, really good. I also enjoyed, even though this is a weird but I enjoyed that there was as many cringeworthy scenes as there were terrifying scenes. Mm-hmm. Just like when Lucille Sharp decides to take out that guy, her father, and slams his head into the sink. There's that scene where he can see his head caved in, and I'm just like, oh, jeez.
I know.
Oh. And then at the end of the movie, you have Tom Hiddleston getting stabbed in the cheek. And you're just like, oh, like the groans throughout the entire theater was great. And I liked seeing that because there wasn't a lot of, in these movies you get a lot of jump scares. And that didn't happen in this movie. It's a different type of horror movie. There's not a cat jumping out of the closet type of stuff that happens a lot in those horror movies. This one has more of the cringe type. You're just like, oh, this is a really terrible situation, as opposed to just trying to scare you with a jump scare. And I also enjoyed that although there are scenes in this movie where there's a build-up, and that build-up where they have that anticipation where they turn all sound off, the music is gone, and then they give you that screech to try to scare you when something happens. This one had a lot of scenes in it where that doesn't even exist. So just the scene where she's walking down the hall, and then that one that's like crawling on the ground after her, that one kind of just happens. And it's really just refreshing for these horror movies. And just like I was saying earlier, it's all the stuff that's negative that you would think would be negative is actually the positive part of this movie. They're actually just all trying to help her. And I thought that was just a really brilliant part of this movie. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, they're trying to help her in the most creepy way possible.
Oh, yeah. Just creepy as hell.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so that's my likes. What do you got?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even classify this as being a horror movie. This is a love story.
Yeah, it is a love story.
And, that was something I actually liked about it, because you're never going to see a romantic movie like this.
No, you aren't.
And it's going to be, I think, people are going to avoid it because of the fact that it looks really, really creepy.
Yeah, and it is really, really creepy.
Yeah, but it's weirdly comforting. There's a point where you realize these things, they could have gotten her if they wanted to.
Yeah.
She's in the tub naked. She's left alone a lot at night.
Yeah.
They could have gotten to her. And there's a point where you get the feeling that is not the issue. And it isn't even the house. It's really the sister that's the problem.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I really, really liked it. And as you were saying, it's really different from, I think, how a lot of these movies would go. One of my other likes was there's a little wink at Sherlock Holmes, and they don't say Sherlock Holmes, but they talk about Dr. McMichael having a book in his study that was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Conan Doyle, yeah.
And then he ends up, the whole murder mystery or the whole accident as it's portrayed doesn't add up to him. And so he goes, he goes on his own little journey. That's kind of a little subplot and shows up at the end. Yeah. And I thought that was a nice little wink at Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, that was a really cool feature.
The character growth and the transformation of Edith, where she really is, she really doesn't know, she's really naive, and that's something that that Thomas Sharp actually calls her out on.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, and that she doesn't know anything about love either.
Yeah.
And I think she really changes and finds out about love and just how crazy it makes people.
Yeah.
Another thing I really liked was that no one at any point goes for a gun. They just go for bigger knives. And there's just something really refreshing about that.
That's great.
The knives just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yep.
And then, of course, Doug Jones. He plays all these creepy characters and ghouls and everything, but his performance in this, he just has a few really short scenes.
Yeah.
But he's just wonderful. He's wonderfully creepy.
Yeah.
in all of his movements.
Yeah, he is.
All right, that's it for me, buddy. Do you want to rate this thing?
Yeah, let's rate it. All right. So, I think this movie it's beautifully horrific. And it's actually a surprising love story, but it is a slow burn. But you know what? I'm just going to admit my bias, and I say, let's give Guillermo del Toro some cash. Go see it.
Yeah, well, we want that Hellboy 3, right? So,
yeah.
So maybe if it picks up here in the next coming weeks, I'm going to say go see it as well. I thought some of the stuff was relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
They kind of tried to keep it a little bit of a mystery, but I felt it was something that you could see coming. But I think that the performances are strong enough to where the three main actors are haunting. They're the things that are really kind of unnerving. Their performances are unnerving, I should say. And this is if you're going to go see a romantic movie, which I would never go and see, this is probably it for me. This is.
Yeah.
And you get to see Hiddleston's butt, which actually I wasn't really that happy about. Why is it always
fantastic.
that?
When I was in the movie theater and I saw that scene, I was thinking, I wonder if they used a body double. Hiddleston's just like, no one's gonna see my butt.
I know. No one wants to see a British butt. I'm just gonna say it right now. And Mia got to keep all of her clothes on, and we had to look at Hiddleston's butt, which didn't have a bunch of moles on it, which is what I was thinking it would have. So maybe it was a butt double. Because British guys, they have moles on their butt.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, jeez. And did they have waxing back then? I mean, what the hell?
Oh, man. All right. I'm stopping you right now before you go too far.
I didn't realize they had the laser hair removal back in those days.
Oh, man. If anybody would like to contact us, there's always our website, halfpasspodcast.com.
Like us on Facebook.
Rate us on iTunes. We always like those 5 stars.
Yeah, and to the guy who keeps giving us 2, we're going to find you. I feel like it's the same person.
Probably.
We're on Stitcher and Libsyn.
You know, about that.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with somebody giving me 2 stars, but give me a reason, damn it.
Yeah, right. Like, you know, maybe one of you is too white and one of you is too black. like that sort of.
Email us
like,
at halfpastcast@gmail.com. What? What did you just say?
That's not a good reason.
Nice.
For 2 stars. Sorry.
Email us at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com.
We're on Twitter at halfpastpodcast. We're going to put that link up too.
Yep, we'll have to put that link up for the pneumococcal pneumonia with Tim Daly.
Tim Daly to scare you about pneumococcal pneumonia. Hey, his mom had it.
Yep.
She had to be hospitalized too.
Thank you for listening and thank you for your support. Next week we have The Last Witch Hunter. A little later this week we're going to have Goosebumps though.
Yep, coming up in a couple of days.
Goosebumps.
All right.
This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jonesy.
See you next flick.